Hey everybody, this is Mike on the Michael W. Hull YouTube channel. We talk about guitar and particularly classical guitar, but today I'm going to talk about some concepts that we went over in my beginning classes today, my beginning group class, and then some students who are studying privately who just started with me, some with experience, some with lack of experience. But anyway, some of these things, I think all these concepts will help you because we're dealing with structure and reading music, that kind of thing. Some of you have read tablature, and we talked about reading notes having one thing in common with tablature, that the lower sounds are notated lower in the lower lines. So the musical staff has 5 lines and spaces. And some handouts I gave out in the beginning class today, we talked about mnemonic devices to memorize the notes, like FACE on the spaces, and every good boy does fine on the lines. Now that may seem basic, but get those memorized because the treble clef is what you use when you learn guitar music. So we're trying to bridge the gap between playing by ear and reading music, and there's no reason why you can't put those two together. It has been beneficial for me in my life that at first I learned by ear, but I do like the classical model of learning in a traditional way too. So this is what that's about. Anyway, I gave you some sheets with some notation. The oval shaped note, and there are notes on various strings. The first string, which is notated on the top space, and then some of the ledger lines we'll get to later. But the second string, B, C, D, is in the middle line of the staff, and then the third space, and then the fourth line of the staff is the D. That's just some examples. Now, I interrupted myself because I was talking about note durations too. The oval, the whole note is 4 counts. Now, music is measured in musical time, not seconds and minutes. You have the half note that looks like a whole note, but with a stem on it, and then that's 2 counts. The quarter note is 1 count, and that's like a half note, but the note head is filled in with black ink. So that's just some basic stuff. Now, that's the beginning class. We talked also about chord shapes, C and G, and you have some charts that I gave you, A minor. And one of you demonstrated bar chords, which is pretty impressive, so that's good. So more to come on that. I wanted to talk about strumming chords. We talked about sounding and vibrating the strings and changing chords. Take your time with this. Also, as you prepare to play notes, you're going to be using more finger style. We will use a pick too at points, but you notice that when I play, my thumb is supporting the hand by keeping it steady, and then I'm playing something called rest stroke, where I tap through the string into the next string. And it's really important to alternate the fingers as well. So those of you who are taking lessons, and I gave the preparatory level scales from the RCM books. Now that has several items on it. I'm real big on terminology and making things clear. So you have the use of the index and middle fingers, I and M. So we want to learn to alternate the fingers, playing rest stroke, and also playing on the fingertips right next to the fret in the left hand. That's a C major scale. We'll get to the cadences and the chords later. So there's a chord at the end of that needs some explanation. I can do it here, but in person is better. So looking forward to that. So get the notes of the scales. We did C major. This is G major starting on 3rd string. Now, as you know, we talked about the fact that these scales are in 1st position. So the left hand finger number will be the same as the fret, not definitively, so you can't look at that little number above the note and say, oh, that's a fret number. But they do line up that way because naturally you would play in 1st position. It would make sense. It's not 100% of the time, but it's very often. Most of the time, you play a fret and a finger. It just logically works out that way, but there are exceptions to that. So be open-minded about that. The circled numbers that you see near the notes, I think it's below in this case, below the notes. The circle numbers indicate the string location. Now the strings in the guitar are from the top. The top string location is actually the bottom in pitch. So it's backwards kind of. So your sixth string, if you see a circle around a six, that means sixth string. Circle around a five means five string, fifth string, and so forth. So that's a kind of a crash course. Obviously we spend a lot more time in class and in lesson, but what you'll find as we unearth these materials, that you get these basics down and use them over and over again. It builds into your muscle memory and your database for music. You use your strengths if you play well by ear, if you have some experience with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And we also try to read so we can be literate musicians as well. No matter if you're a music major or not, it doesn't matter your exact level or talent. We're just trying to get a healthy hobby for some people and just make music every man's joy, okay? That's what we're trying to do. So hang in there and pay attention to the syllabi I gave you and get those practice hours in and document that and get ready for quizzes and stuff like that. The other thing is just the idea of just like I said, being literate music, getting those note names down, getting the location understood, where they are on the staff, and then translating them to the fingers. So relax the hands. Don't try to build strength. That's not how you do it. Don't want to be like Robert Schumann in music history and tear ligaments in your little finger. So should be fun. We'll look forward to meeting everybody again and getting some music. We'll be concerned about the textbooks coming up here, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good weekend, everybody.